Hey guys, welcome back to the shop this week. We will be building a bamboo bow stave based on the patent held by Howard Hill and what he built for his American semi-longbows. Guys, most of that information that I got came from this book. It's called A Discussion of Howard Hill and the Longbow. If this sort of build interests you, I'm going to put a link down in the description to this book, and guys, you can pick it up. It goes through Howard's, basically his American semi-longbow, his ASL bows, in every iteration through time, from his bamboo staves all the way through fiberglass builds. So it's a great resource for this style of bow for any of your interests as a bowyer. All right, guys, this is where this bow build begins. We need 3 pieces of bamboo. I have here what I sell in lots of 3, just bamboo slats. No particular arrangement as far as the nodes are concerned. Just kind of random pieces, to be honest with you. What we need to do is get these 3 pieces prepared to be laminated together in the style that was described by Howard Hill in his patent. And the way that was done was it had a very thin backing strip and then 2 more laminations that went together underneath that backing strip. But they were put together in such a way that it took advantage of what Howard Hill described as the power fibers of the bamboo. And those are the fibers that reside right out here near the rind of the bamboo stalk. All right, and so we are actually going to try and take this and concave out the inside pieces, at least of the backing piece and the second piece. The belly piece will then remain a little thicker and then flattened on its end. And we will be engaged a little more with how the belly preparation of this build goes as we move along with this project and into future videos. Since the lamination process could really be turned into a very complicated process by leaving these slats full width and then going through and not only taking off the nodes of the second and third laminations, but then also concaving out the first 2 laminations to get this stave put together. I am going to first cut them into basically strips of the total length that I'm looking for in this bow. Now I'm probably going to start around 1 1/4 inches wide, but what that will let me do is eliminate a lot of this edge work out here and get it closer to flat, right? So that's going to make things a little easier to mill out, and then we can work then to get what little concave is left and really isolate those power fibers into this particular build. And what I am doing here, guys, is I'm trying to lay out a nice straight line on my bamboo. So I have taken a straight edge here, which is it's 1 inch wide on its edge, and I'm positioning it on my bamboo so that I am on the crown from end to end to the best of my ability anyway, and then clamping this down. And the idea here, of course, is to ensure that we have a straight stave. And then I'm going to trace lines right around this straight edge. So it's 1 inch, right? And when we go to cut it out on the bandsaw or reduce it, however you choose to reduce your laminations, it's going to be a little bit wider because we cut outside the line, with the hope to get it somewhere in that 1.25" range, because I don't want my bow to be any wider than 1.25". After about that width, it kind of doesn't meet the specs of a ASL bow. Alright guys, here we are with our slats cut out. This is where things start to get a little bit interesting. We're going to need to pick a back, a middle lamb, and a belly lamb. Alright, and then we're going to trim these out very thin. Actually, the back is going to be quite thin. The middle lamb is going to be a little bit thicker, and then of course the belly lamb will be the thickest lamb of the three. Now that we've got them in this dimension, you can see that it's going to be a lot easier to isolate those power fibers in the construction of this bow stave. All right, as we start to sand these slats down, we want to make sure that they are tillered like we would a bamboo backing strip, right? Or really any other part of a bow that we are laminating together. We got to get the correct taper. And in this instance, the taper will be determined by the tiller. I'm dealing with the belly piece right now, which means I know that the nodes are going to be removed in the end regardless. So before I taper this piece and try to give it its correct bend, we're going to go through and remove all of the nodes and rind, this little surface rind, off of this slat, and then begin the tapering process on the what would be like the belly side of this slat. All right, we're making some progress here. Here is my backing strip, and you can see the nodes are still in place. Ground out pretty flat on the interior side of the slat here. And then our middle slat, which has been ground down on both the nodes and on the pithy side here. And of course, tillered to ensure that the bend is proper, right? So each of these is worked out to ensure that I've got even bend. Even though it's parallel in shape, right? You can tell with the taper that it's got enough bends such that when we put the side tapers in, we're going to come into a little more compliant tiller. Finally, the belly. Now the belly side has the rind, I don't want to say rind, the outer surface sanded pretty clear, pretty much clear, and then the belly is flat and will remain such all the way through the end of the build here. So this is going to be our belly surface, at least of the stave, all right? And then we need to be able to get back to this surface to do any kind of tillering that needs to be done once the three of them are put together. All right, so once this all comes together, this will be the surface with which we till it. So really the way this is going to go is everything's going to get glued up, and then the stave itself will get tillered prior to putting on the grip and etc. All right, so there is a lot more to this build than just this part. However, we got to go in here and get the concaves cut in. But before we can cut in the concaves, we got one more step to handle. Tempering process with this bamboo. And I'm doing it with a heat gun. And it does take a minute, but this bamboo is pretty thin. So tempering shouldn't take a heck of a long time. I kind of like to get the whole section that I'm heating heated all at once and then kind of hit it in sections. But the idea here is that we're going to see it get nice and caramel brown. And the reason that we are going to temper this surface, like the middle two surfaces or belly surfaces and not the backing, is that we want to maintain that tension strength on the backing, right? Just like heat treating a whitewood bow, you would only heat treat the belly. We don't heat treat the back because it's the belly that we're trying to help in terms of compression strength by utilizing the heat treatment. And so that is exactly what we're going to do here. We're only going to heat treat the belly surface, the belly lamb, and then the center lamb, and leave the backing alone. Now you can see how the coloration is starting to take shape here, or take form. It's getting darker. We want to try and keep it uniform from end to end. To go through, and not only am I going to heat treat the pith side here, but I will also hit the outer rind side so that I can be sure that we've got real good heat treatment throughout the entire thickness of this piece of bamboo. Alright guys, this has been the best method I could figure out up to this point to get my bamboo kind of hollowed out on the interior side of the slat, and that is to set up a guide on my belt sander and basically run out the center on that piece, which would cove out a little more right into the center than may be optimal, and that's why I put together a sanding wheel here to attach to the side of my drum sander, where I can then have you can kind of see the convex surface here that becomes the concave on the slat that I'm working on. And actually, you can see I got a little bit of opportunity right here, but that is how I've gotten these things cleaned up. And you'll be able to see, hopefully you can see, that it coves that out really nicely. All of our parts are right here, and to the best of my ability, I have coved out the interior sides of these slats to come at least close to matching the crown of each successive piece, leaving the belly piece flat, of course. One trick, and I've discussed this in videos in the past, when you temper a flat piece of bamboo, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but it puts a little bit of a crown on that surface. And so this surface is going to have to be flattened again before we can put a belly face on it, which comes after the riser and etc. So still got a little bit of work to do on this, but as far as prep for glue up, we are done. So we have all the parts ready to construct the patented bamboo bow stave that Howard Hill used in his longbows. And all we got to do now is assemble it. Now, in reading the book, right, a discussion of Howard Hill and the longbow, there's a section in there where one of his bowyers talks about how to construct this bow, you need only get kind of close And guys, if kinda close will get it, then I'm money. If it has to be perfect, I'm in trouble. So I have my EA40 here mixed 50-50, just as it suggests on the cans, and I'm just going to go ahead and just lay on relatively generous layer. It's going to be kind of tricky for me compared to what I'm used to doing with these bows, and that none of the surfaces are flat, which makes it kind of tricky then to spread the glue, I'm expecting anyway, to get all the way down on the edges and stuff the way I'm accustomed to doing it when I have flat edges to work with, or flat surfaces rather. I don't think I'll experience nearly as many issues with the convex sides as I will with the concave sides. So this is just going to be a little bit of a fast learning curve here. And I do want to put on a relatively thick coat because I know my surfaces won't necessarily mate perfectly. There are going to be some gaps in there. And I suspect that as you know, the clamping pressure is applied where the concave and convex may not go together perfectly, that the pressure will, you know, bring it all, you know, together, you know, surface to surface, or full surface contact to full surface contact, I guess would be the way to describe that. Okay, I've just assembled all of the parts after having glued all surfaces together here, and I did it on top of some plastic wrap that I laid out on the bench top as per what I would consider to be a best practice. And I've got one section right here that split longitudinally when I was sanding it. So I'm putting a piece of tape just around that one spot to keep it from spreading open when I clamp it down. So just a little extra insurance there. And our form is right here. As it works out, the center node is in fact 36 inches. So it's dead center on my bamboo. And from here, guys, we just wrap everything down onto the form. Now I've got a piece of foam here, this soft foam. It's from like gym mats that you would put down in your basement floor or something in your gym, right? So I can clamp it down real tight to the form, and it won't like bulge where the nodes are, because they've got like a little bit of a cushion on which to rest, so that the bow can essentially lay flat in spite of those nodes against the form here. Okay, everything is glued up and secured down real well. I can see just looking in here that, you know, the pieces are kind of floating around in there a little bit mismatched, but that's part of why we went a little extra wide, being about 1 1/4 inches. In the end, I'm hoping this bow will actually be narrower than 1 inch, or right around the 1 inch mark wide. So anyway, guys, this is the end of this stage of the build, guys. Once we take this off, we will have our stave, our bamboo stave, that is ready to be made into a American semi-longbow, an ASL bow, Howard Hill's signature bow. And guys, we are going to take that part on, or at least the next steps, next week. So thank you for joining me this week, and guys, we'll get going on it some more next week.